What does perfect even mean? Is there even such a thing? Ooh, can we switch up all the rules and imagine a utopia? Darling, I'm just so fed up with these expectations. They keep weighing me down. My heart is begging me to get the hell out of my head. I'm gonna live inside the upside down for a minute and pretend, honey, I'm a perfect 10. Whoa, whoa, honey, I'm a perfect 10. Whoa, whoa, and if I say it enough, it gets ingrained in my head, and I start to see, honey, I'm a perfect 10. Honey, I'm a perfect 10. Whoa, honey, I'm a perfect 10. Honey, I'm a, yeah. Yeah, I've discussed it with myself, and I'm disgusted with the way we're told to have a certain face, a certain weight, because we aren't pixels on a screen. No, we're human, we breathe. Every single thing we see curated, it's overrated. These expectations, they keep weighing me down. My heart is begging me to get the hell out of my head. I'm gonna live inside the upside down for a minute and pretend, honey, I'm a perfect 10. Whoa, honey, I'm a perfect 10. Whoa, and if I say it enough, it gets ingrained in my head, and I start to think, honey, I'm a perfect 10. Honey, I'm a perfect 10. Whoa, honey, I'm a perfect 10. Honey, I'm a, yeah.
Messing with my head again. You had your heart set on me, but these feels, they come and go, and they come so easily. Tell me what it is about you that I can't forget, but you're breaking down my walls again just to set me free. Why do I, baby, why do I love the way you are, we always leave me? Why do I, baby, why do I love the touch but never love the feeling? Why do I, baby, why do I love the way you are, we always leave me? Why do I, baby, why do I love the touch but never love the feeling? Staying up when I go out, you gotta know I'm all yours. But when I say what's that about, you start slurring your words. Tell me why you have to seem so distant when I'm holding you. Your fingertips are drifting away, and I fucking love how it hurts. Why do I, baby, why do I love the way you always leave me? Why do I, baby, why do I love the touch but never love the feeling? Why do I, baby, why do I love the way you always leave me? Why do I, baby, why do I love the touch but never love the feeling? Why do I, baby, why do why do I, baby, why do why do I, baby, why do I love the touch but never love the feeling?
Okie dokie. All right. Let's get this all started. Boom. Alrighty. Get this all fixed on my end. Alright, neato. Alright, as you can tell from the title, we are going to discuss some Cogs of Vashtorr. Whoa. I can't zoom in on this one. Alright, fine. We are not going to do present mode then, because this I feel like looks better on the stream. Coolio. Alright, so yeah. If anybody noticed today in the big Warhammer community release on the webpage is that we got the new Army of Renown along with our new Chaos HQ. It was something that was kind of teased for a while. And then it was released around LVO, I believe. His name was Vashtorr. And we got to see kind of like an early preview of the model and the box that he's coming in. But here we go. We actually have the official rules for both Vashtorr and their Army of Renown. And so we're going to start off with the Army of Renown. So the restrictions for the Army of Renown is that you must have the Traitor as the start as keyword. Your Warlord must be Vashtorr. Kind of obvious. You cannot have any other named characters or Demon Prince models, which I guess kind of makes sense. And then, obviously, no named, or I guess no faction-named Marines. So no Khorne Berserkers, Rubrics, Plagues, or Noise Marines. The benefits that you get is, obviously, you gain the keyword, you get access to the relics and stratagems, you gain the Tech Infernal Foci, or Foci, Foci. So detachments in your army never count as Legion detachment, and you cannot use any Legion-specific strats, relics, warlord traits, or psychic powers. Oh, yeah, that makes sense, yeah. So again, kind of the same thing. You can't use Legion-locked characters and strats and stuff like that. Kind of goes without saying. And now to talk about the ability that they receive, the Tech Infernal Foci. if the unit has the Demon Engine keyword, it is always considered to be in wanton destruction, massacre, and slaughter, i.e. you're pretty much always having exploding 6s to hit, because if you're a Demon Engine, because you have access to every single wanton as long as you have that keyword. And then the flip side of it is if you don't have the Demon Engine keyword, it is never considered to be in a wanton period. So very obviously from the get-go, just kind of based off of what we're seeing here, it looks like this is going to be a very Demon Engine heavy Army of Renown. That seems very obvious at this point, which is kind of cool. It'll be cool to see. I personally like the look of Demon Engines. I think those are really cool vehicle models. I think Forge Fiends and Mauler Fiends look completely dope. So I'm actually kind of excited to see them on the table. And if anybody decides to do this, I know in our team chat and the other players on the team have already kind of discussed this in decent lengths, that we're all actually kind of excited to see this army on the table. Don't know how successful it's going to be when it comes to competitive, but I think on either side of playing 40k, I think you're going to really enjoy playing this army. I think it's a really cool concept. This is something that I personally would feel like just throwing on the table, and I feel like you would just have a lot of fun doing it. You might not win, you might not even score a lot of points, but I feel like it's just going to be a lot of fun to play this style of army, which is a huge bonus. I'm actually super excited. So let's get to the relics. I don't think there's a bad relic that they have. Talisman of the Forge, Cogs of Vashtorr model only. In the command phase, select one friendly Demon Engine with a 9. Into your next command phase, you have a 5 up Feel No Pain. That's fantastic. It gives already, pretty high toughness, high wound models a way to stay alive longer without expending CPs that may be accessible through the CSM codex. So that's really cool. Or it'll at least give an option to, again, let's say you have a Demon Engine that doesn't have access to something like that. This kind of gives you a nice little caveat to be able to help them out and get them where they need to be. Up next is the Helm of the Cyberphage. Again, Cogs of Vashtorr model only. It does say model and not character, so if you are running other non-Demon Engine units, I guess this is a thing you could attach to them, so that's kind of exciting. It's not necessarily character locked, so it's not horrible, but has an aura while a friendly Demon Engine is within 6 of the bearer. Each time that model makes an attack against a vehicle, improve the AP by 1. This is kind of niche, so you may not see. I mean, there's no reason to not do this if you have the strategy, the CP available for it. I already feel like this Army of Renown, you're pretty much going to be starting with 1 or 0 CP because, again, your relics are just really good. But yeah, I think this is it's a niche thing to have, but it might be just worth having it. Hilariously enough, especially at a competitive level. I mean, we have a lot of Ravenwing around, or Deathwing with the land speeders. Knights are surprisingly still pretty heavily played, so this will be a nice huge bonus to force them to have to use stratagems to keep their stuff alive. Help against orcs. No, I guess I won't help against orcs, because they are running kill rigs, and I don't believe kill rigs are vehicles. They may be monsters. Oh, no, they might be vehicles. So having this actually won't be that terrible. I mean, I feel like you'll probably use it 50% of the time, or it'll feel effective 50% of the time. Won't hurt against rhinos either. A lot of marine armies are starting to take a lot of transports and stuff like that, so this would be a nice way to really make it more difficult for those rhinos to take saves or even get saves, period. So this actually might be pretty good. Like I said, it feels very niche, but it also feels it's a pretty solid place to have it in our current meta. The Spite Iron Goad. In your command phase, select one friendly Demon Engine with a 9. Until the end of your turn, that unit is eligible to shoot and declare a charge, in which your turn it fell back. I think this will be across the board. Especially because typically against vehicle heavy lists, you like to try getting something either very horde like or very durable to be in combat with them. They'll force them to have to fall back so they can't shoot that really strong vehicle, or that super strong vehicle can't charge into something, a lot easier to kill along those lines. So I think despite Iron Goad is probably going to be an auto take. Like, I think in this army renown, I think you take all three of these. They all serve their purpose very well. This is like, for me personally, this is the only one I could see the argument of like, do I need it? Do I not need it? If you have a local meta that and you're playing like a lot of local RTTs and that like no one plays vehicles, then yeah, you can obviously cut it. But I feel like if you take this to something like a major where it's like 50 plus people, you're probably still going to find some use out of it. So I enjoy all three of these. I think these are three really, really cool relics that just really feed into playing the demon engines, keeping them durable and keeping them impactful on the board. Because again, typically when you run vehicle heavy lists or things like this that get tied up easily in combat, you just start losing the potential once your opponent gets to you, or if they have the speed to get to you early, and you just kind of feel the oppression of, well, I'm stuck in my deployment zone, I've made a parking lot, I can't do anything. So yeah, I really like all these. I think this gives the army a lot of depth and a lot of range. Now, stratagems. I've already read through these earlier. There wasn't one I didn't like. I think all of these are phenomenal. These are really cool stratagems. They gave them all really, really good stratagems. Like I said, I don't think there's one I wouldn't want to use. So Forge Surge, I think is really cool if you're able to abuse it. So if you like Flamers a lot, or if they have a lot of like D6, D3 determining shot rolls. I mean, 1 CP and you max the shots. Like, I think that's super cool. That gives you the ability to, run the Flamers, because then you get your max shots plus the 2. Like, this is super cool. Love this stratagem. I think this stratagem is going to be, like, really, really powerful. You're going to really feel it if you're running a lot of Flamers or, like, autocannon style guns, stuff like that. Master Guidance. This is probably one of the best stratagems just in existence. You give it to Vashtorr because it has to be your warlord. I believe it has to be your warlord. I'm assuming not a unit with the warlord trait. I think it's your actual warlord. But he becomes Guilliman. Like half range of Guilliman's rerolls, but everything rerolls. Every friendly demon engine rerolls the hit roll. I think that's just bonkers. Whoa, the quality of my stream went down quite a bit. I don't know if that's on my end or... Okay, that's just my internet changing it. Okay. Good. But yeah, I love Master's Guidance. I think if you're able to keep a way to maintain 2 CP or 3 CP going into your turn, like turn 2 or turn 3, this thing can just flip the table so quick. I think that stratagem is super awesome. Colgated Fates, I think, is this how you pronounce that? I guess this is the only mediocre one. To the end of the phase, each time a unit makes an attack, the target does not receive the benefits of cover. So, like, it's not super potent. It's probably not going to be super relevant, but there might be moments where you're like, you know what, I really need to get these, intercessors or infiltrators or, plebeian unit that's just sitting on this objective, stealing it from me because they have OBSEC, but they're touching the building. Like, this might turn on Flamers and make Flamers a little bit more, juicy. Or, if you got a lot of bolters on a unit as well, a lot of AP1 style guns that they might be shooting into something in the light cover. But it's still good being able to turn off cover, period. I know if you're facing Custodies, a lot of Custodies are running the Dense banner. So, where they're units within 6 of that banner are considered to be in dense cover. So that's, again, it's a nice tool. I don't think it's like the greatest thing in the world, but again, it's giving them an out. It's giving them something in shooting. I didn't read this one because usually when it comes to like epic deed stratagems, they're really not that great. And then I saw mortals as well. So use stratagem in your opponent's shooting phase when an enemy unit within 18 inches of and visible to your warlord has finished making its attacks. If any of those attacks targeted a traded Astartes unit from your army within 6 inches of this warlord, Wow. Roll 1d6 on a 2 to 4. The enemy unit suffers D3 mortal wounds. On a 5+, they just take flat 3. I should have read that. That's pretty good. So if you shoot at one of my dudes that's within 6 inches of me, and I can see you shooting at my dudes, and you're within 18 inches of me, you can suffer mortals. I mean, that takes a lot of setup to get going, but it's also not terrible. Especially because it's a 5-up, they take flat 3. So again, Glitch Curse and Concatenated Fates are probably very niche and probably won't be seen a lot, but they have a place. I can definitely see a moment of using them. I don't want to use the word gotcha because, like, obviously you shouldn't try to gotcha your opponent, but it's one of those things where, like, your opponent's gonna have to think about it. So, like, that's kind of what I'm implying by the gotcha. Like, your opponent might be like, okay, cool, yeah, I'll just shoot you, but then they'll forget, wait, okay, I have to be outside of 18, or I have to be not visible to your warlord, kind of thing, which might eliminate some lanes of shooting or force them to have to make a really, an unfavorable trade or an unfavorable play. So it has a place. It's also only 1 CP. So again, if you're able to build this kind of army and start with like 2 CP, which I don't believe you're going to, it might be something you might use on the regular. Kako Spark Prattle. Use a stratagem as long as your warlord is on the battlefield. Till the end of the battle, the CP cost of your opponent must pay to use a stratagem again is increased by 1. I have only ever played against a CP or an army that's done this once, and I absolutely hated every moment of it. I wanted them to go away. The power of this, when you know your opponent wants to use a very redundant stratagem, so things like transhuman for Space Marines, same thing for Custodes, Tau like to use their version of Fire and Fade. I think that's actually what it's called, is Fire and Fade. What other good stratagems are out there that people like to spam a lot? I really can't think of any off the top of my head for a lot of armies I know. But yeah, so like I said, you're especially if you can target defensive stratagems, making them cost 2 or possibly even 3 or possibly even 4, like some of the T-Sun stratagems that are like 3 if you run a 10-man or if it's on Terminators. This could just be like a nail in the coffin. This could be like, all right, cool, I'm never using this stratagem for the rest of the game kind of thing. It might not impact Marines as much because I feel like a lot of Marine players at this point are playing with a decent amount of CP where they're playing with like 2 or 3 right away. So there's that, but I mean, especially if you're playing an army that's starting with only 0 CP, something like this is gonna suck. Oh, they're gonna hate you. But I think this is really cool. Foul Alterations, another 1 CP'er. When a demon engine from your army is selected to advance until the end of your turn, it can shoot, charge, and advance. That's again very, very obviously phenomenal. Most demon engines move probably 8 to 10 inches. So now you add the, average of 3 inches to that. So you could be going anywhere from like 11 to 15 inches with those models. Then they get to charge and still shoot. Like, this just gives so much flexibility in the army where you can this gives you the opportunity to keep things extra safe. So you can, all right, I don't have to feel like I'm going to take 2, 3, 4, 5 turns to get something forward. It's just a turn because I can advance, shoot, and charge you. So overall, my initial impressions of this army is really good. I really, really like this Army of Renown. I don't feel like it feels oppressive. I don't feel like it's an army that's just going to take over the game and make you, why did GW do this? I hate this. Chaos are stupid again. I don't feel like that's where we're going to be with this army. I think we're going to be in a situation where a lot of people are going to be like, okay, you're doing a cool thing, but in a good way. Because for me personally, when I faced a lot of Army Renowns, it's always been like, okay, you have a lot of cool rules, but you're not good. You're a very mediocre army. You're doing a lot of mediocre things. But I feel like this is, for my experience, this is the first army ever now where it's like, I feel like you're putting good stuff on the table, you're going to have fun playing it, and people are actually going to have to be like, oh, shit, like, I've got to play around this. Like, this is something kind of crazy. But I love it. I enjoy the fluff of this so far. I enjoy like I said, I think it's really cool. It's something that I want to put on the table, and I'm not a big like chaos guy, but I think this is super dope. Super dope. Now let's talk about the one and only leader of these demon engines, Vashtorr themselves. So, realistically speaking, in my opinion, I was not super impressed with this model, especially with the lore behind it. You're talking about a dude that's supposedly like right at that point of godhood. They're trying to push it through and prove themselves that they deserve godhood or whatever steps they have to take when it comes to the lore. But it's a very medium data sheet, in my opinion. I don't think it's anything crazy. I don't think it's anything like, holy crap, this guy is, this doesn't feel like I'm looking at Angron. That's for sure. This kind of feels like I'm looking at, like a Be'lakor kind of thing, where, yeah, it's super strong. It has its stuff, it does. But if you just play around it or ignore it, it's not like it's going to kill you. It's not like this thing's going to be like, all right, I table you, see you later. So to start off with, Vashtorr moves 12, 2 up in melee, 3 up in shooting, 7 strength, 7 toughness, 14 total wounds, 7 attacks, leadership 9, 2 up save. Not terrible. It makes sense on why the ballistic is 3. It's because you have a flamer, so you just don't really care. It brackets, which is a kind of a feels bad. At least it doesn't bracket in a bad way. Like, nothing is depreciated besides the attacks and movement speed, which, again, it's an HQ. You should be able to play smart enough with it where it's just not going to get abused or shot or killed. Now, he's only got the 2 weapons, and this is all he can take. So the 12-inch Assault D6 521 Flamer. He doesn't have the fancy keyword or ability or whatever thing we're talking about where he gets +2, where it's, I think it's like let the galaxy burn or watch the galaxy burn, whatever it is. So he doesn't get the +2. So yeah, like I said, it's a very mediocre. I mean, it's a flamer. It's a heavy flamer, I think, being 521. So yeah, he's basically just got like an exaggerated heavy flame. I don't know. It's very medium. His melee, it's super nice. It's 7 attacks, hitting on 2s that become strength 14 minus 2/3 damage. Against vehicles, if you have a wound of a 5+, it takes 4 mortals instead, and the sequence ends. So again, if he gets in against vehicles, he's more than likely just killing them. I don't see a lot of vehicles being able to handle this. I mean, 7 dice hitting on 2s should be 6 hits, wounding more than likely on 2s. Should be 5 hits. You might have 1 or 2 5s in there, so that's 8 mortals alone. Like I said, he's probably killing any vehicle he touches. So it kind of makes you have to really figure out how to play Vashtorr. I think the biggest learning curve for Vashtorr is going to be figuring out how to play him against non-vehicle armies, because it's like, this is still a good melee profile, but like this is all he's really bringing to the table. So it's like, otherwise he's just a buff character. So, we'll talk about that when we talk about his Will of the Arcaphane. But, yeah, it's okay. It's okay. I'm not excited about it. I don't think it's like, oh my gosh, this dude's crazy. But it's respectable. He's a character, and they gave him character treatment. Respectable guns, better than average shooting and melee. We're good to go. Body of the Unholy Artifice. So he's got a 4-up invuln and -1 damage. Coolio, love the -1 damage part. Think it's great. Love it. Now, I believe this is his Warlord trait, Will of the Archifane. Oh no, he gets the Lord of Terror Warlord trait. Okay, so this is just one of his innate abilities, Will of the Archifane. You get to choose one of these 3 things to do. Right, you can phase. You can select one of the following abilities. Yep. So he can either give something within 3 inches +1 to hit when it comes to demon engines. Ghost of the Machines. You can pick an enemy unit with an 18. Have the range characteristics of ranged weapons in the enemy unit. Or you can have the movement attack characteristics of a vehicle. Again, I personally don't think it's too amazing. Having the range of ranged guns is going to feel okay, but the problem is you have to target something within 18 inches. So, okay, cool. It makes Meltas go from 24 to 12, so it effectively gives them an 18-inch threat range. Well, I mean, I'm in I'm not Melta range, but I'm in shooting range with my Meltas without having to move, because you have to be within 18 of me. So, like I said, I wasn't too, oh my god, about this character. I think he's good. In the Army of Renown, he's probably going to feel great. But hilariously enough, when it comes to the Army of Renown, I think he's the worst part. I don't know. I mean, I would be very glad to be proven wrong. I'd love for this dude to be really cool and really strong and really powerful. But I just don't think they gave him that treatment. I think they took his concept and really gave it to the Army of Renown. I think they really gave the punch to the Army of Renown, and they just wanted people to play this guy. I think they wanted people to buy the new box, play the new guy, but only in the Army of Renown. Because if this guy was any better, he would just take place of the Lord Disco lists, and he would just be the new Lord Disco. Problem is like, I feel like the Lord Disco does kind of what he does, maybe better. This is just speaking from the outside in. I haven't really built a list for Chaos, so I don't know if I am just kind of blowing smoke on my butt. But I feel like a Lord Discordant can kind of do what he's doing, but in a better way, or at least the same way. I don't know how much Lord Discordants cost, but he cost $260. For what he brings to the table, so besides the hammer, I'm not loving it. $260. Yeah, I mean, I plan on playing around with the list after, literally after this, but yeah, I don't know how I feel about the $260. That seems, I mean, it probably seems right. For, like I said, because he has to be played in the Army of Renown. If we made him cheaper, then you get to just play better bits of Demon Engines, and then it just feels even worse. So, maybe that's the case. Maybe that's why they made him $260, but who knows? Right. So yeah, that's Vashtorr. His keywords, faction keywords are kind of obvious: Chaos, Heretic Astartes, Traitor Astartes. He's a monster. Fly, Demon, Chaos, Agent of Chaos. I do find it interesting. Granted, or not interesting, but it makes sense that he's not a Demon Engine. But I would really like for him to have the Demon Engine keyword. But granted, I guess that really wouldn't make sense. But that's just me being me. I would like this to be, instead of E-Monster, be Demon Engine. But that's just me. So coolio. So yeah, I have this up. So I know, for me, where Decimators are elites? That's hot. Because I absolutely think these guys are absolutely goofy. These guys are insane. So they get 4 hits. Wait, is... Or do I have the... I think I have the wrong gun on it. Is it this gun? Yeah. So you run these 2 things, and it is a D3 weapon selection too. I think this thing is dope. So, unfortunately, there are no rerolls initially. I don't know if any characters will be able to give these things rerolls. Just not core. But regardless, you give this thing like cool max shots, and it has 2 of this weapon. So it gets 43, so max shots, so it'll get the 12 shots. Hitting on 2s, giving it +1 to hit. And then all 2-ups are just immortal. Like, these things can be nuts. I think these things are really good with what this army wants to be doing. And I absolutely love the fact that, and you can advance these things too. Yeah, I'm a huge fan of this. They're 24-inch range. Move it to 9, you can advance them. Yeah, this is loving all of this. I think this is super, super cool. I like decimators with this Army of Renown. I know from initial lists that I've already seen from individuals, the Venom Crawler kind of just seems to be a staple. But Venom Crawlers, yeah, I don't hate it. I got to move 48 inches. I can advance, shoot, and charge with this thing too. It's dope. Like, this is cool. Yeah, easily running like 3 Venom Crawlers with the list, I think is really, really cool. What else would I want to run? Where are Mauler Fiends? There you are. I like Mauler Fiends. That's just me. I think you could do... Which one's which? Assault 1. No, I think if we do the Mauler Fiends, we just make them just ridiculous, and we just make them purely melee. Oops. Yeah. You get 6 attacks, you can advance and charge with this profile. It also ignores modifiers. Dude. Yeah. And this dude gets to move 10, an average of 3 with an advance and charge. And then, so like, this thing could effectively have a 20-inch threat range. I'm okay with that. I should say an average threat range of 20. Obviously not guaranteed. But yeah, I love that. Forge Fiends. I don't know what we'd want on them. Maybe it's like double or triple ectoplasma cannons. Because this is a 822. This is a 733. So we can make the 832. Maybe we do... I think it's like something like that. I'm liking that idea. Because now they have 3 of these cannons. Oh no, sorry, they have 1 of these cannons, 2 of these cannons. So they get 8 shots at 832. And this becomes 743. So like this goes against like your... This is your anti-vehicle, this is your anti-troop. Even though this one has blast. Yeah, I like that. I honestly don't know what else is like actual demon engines for Chaos. I haven't really... It's infantry. And there's defilers. It's a heavy D6. Heavy 4. I'm not super stoked about this. If it wasn't a D6 weapon, I'd be like, cool, this could be also just another melee threat that you can advance and charge every turn. I guess this could be the thing that you could always advance, shoot, and charge. Because it's like very medium across the board when it comes to everything. No, I think realistically speaking, this is probably what you're going to advance, shoot, and charge every turn. Just venom crawlers across the board. I don't hate that at all. I don't hate just like venom crawlers everywhere. Impaler harpoon. What in the hell are we doing here? What is an impaler harpoon? No, I think you just make it a super melee boy. Ooh, this thing you could advance and charge every turn. That sounds hot. He just gets to go 16 inches. 6 attacks. Strength 9, AP 3 damage. Yeah. Yeah, I like this. I like this a lot. Yeah, so this is what I mean. It's like you get to play so many interesting things. You can run blight drones if you wanted to. The hell is this thing? Oh. I mean, you can run a load of skulls. You can be real spicy with it. Yeah, I think you got so many cool options. It's just people are gonna put stuff on the table, and it's just gonna look super cool. It's like you run a mop, a disco lord or two, yeah, I think it's going to be a really cool army. I really do. I think it's going to be a really cool, fun experience for everybody. I think they're going to have a lot of fun playing it. I think it's going to be a lot of fun to play against and play with. But yeah, that's pretty much just a quick little discussion I want to have over the army and just kind of talk some things over. And that was that. Thanks for stopping on by, and I hope everybody has a good night.